So if you don't mind, I will take over from here. Thank you, George. Probably you cannot hear us, and but we had to stop because we had serious technical issues. I couldn't see your presentation. So if you don't mind, I will now start with a brief introduction to just trying to build on what George was saying, the challenges of the 2030 agenda, and in particular the financing of the 2030 agenda. That's one of the biggest challenges. I don't know if you can. Have we solved the technical issues? Can you hear me? Okay, please put in the chat that you can listen to me.
Yes, Ivan, can we hear you?
Okay.
If you like, we can use your presentation to continue this webinar.
Sure, please.
Okay, let me a second, please. It's titled Financing SDGs, really?
Financing the SDGs, yes.
Okay. So remember, take control of the presentation and start thinking.
Thank you. All right, now I can see it. Thank you very much. So, very briefly, because it won't take more than 5 to 8 minutes maximum. What I would like to do is speak briefly in the context of where this course of the fiscal toolkit course is within the context of the financing the SDGs, the financing the agenda. And one of the things is that in 2 years ago, in 2015, in Addis Ababa, in Ethiopia, there was this conference on financing for development, and this conference outlined more or less how the international community thought we could finance this new development agenda. And I don't want to spend much time explaining the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. So this presentation is going to be available for you once the session is over, and you could click on those links for you to download different documents if you're really interested in this. But what's important is that the Addis Ababa agenda gave us the context of the challenge to finance the SDGs. And one of the main issues is that we moved from the MDGs, which was an agenda which was pretty much financed by the ODA, to SDGs, which have much broader, diverse sources of financing. So what we have now is we're moving from ODA to domestic resource mobilization. We have now also important private financial flows, foreign direct investment, for example. We have also the role of philanthropy and very interesting new tools as for example, impact investment, etc., and South-South cooperation. This is a graph to show you more or less how the role of ODA has changed in recent years. In the first graph, we have Ethiopia, where ODA is still very important. It's an important source of resources for development. But then we have China, case of China, where foreign direct investment and short-term loans are the highest, and in that case you can see that official development assistance is very low, is short to nothing. And then in Guatemala, the case of Guatemala, where remittances are very high, the remittances are the most important source of foreign resources for Guatemala. But the international resources, or foreign resources, are not the only ones. We have in this graph, we have public and private resources, sources of resources for development. And then we also have domestic and international. And then, as you can see, there's a multiplicity, a huge diversity of sources. Of course, of a fiscal toolkit is one of the tools that we have at UNDP to support countries to improve certain issues, like, for example, to generate revenues or to realign expenditures. Sometimes we have expenditures that are not very progressive. We will learn what progressive is in the next few sessions. We also have, it could help us to avoid some expenditures in the future. For example, if we take some preventive action in terms of taxing alcohol or tobacco, for example. And the fiscal toolkit could also help to deliver better, to make our fiscal policies, taxes and expenditures more progressive, to benefit more the poor, and to help reduce inequality. And this is a brief context of financing for development. And with this, I would like to ask Radha to share with us her experience. Radha is in New York, and she is the expert in a very interesting project called Tax Inspectors Without Borders. So if you don't mind, Radha, if you can hear us, please feel free to start your presentation.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for the wonderful presentation that you gave, and for giving us the opportunity to be able to present to the audience in Latin America and the Caribbean. I'm pleased to be here and to be able to interact with all of you. Would you mind if I share my desktop, since it's easier for me to navigate?
Sure, you can do that, Radha.
Sure. So I'm going to share my desktop. Kindly let me know if you can see my desktop.
It's loading now. And we can see your text.
Great. Thank you so much. So I'm going to run you through this incredible initiative that is a joint partnership between UNDP and OECD, which is called Tax Inspectors Without Borders. It's more about a learning by doing approach for tax audit assistance to countries that don't have knowledge, expertise, and experience, or the capacities to be able to deal with complex tax arrangements that generally multinationals end up doing. What we'll cover briefly is we'll try and understand the challenge, which Ivan kind of set the stage for, the movement from ODA to DRM, and then why the partnership between UNDP and OECD, what's TIWB in practice, how we mobilize experts. If we have a chance, we can also look at the video of a project that we had in Liberia, And then we try and see how all of us can engage to help make a difference. The challenge. Now, as it was mentioned before, that the world is moving from official development assistance to domestic resource mobilization, and rightly so, because the easiest thing that was going on was just giving people money. However, the difficult part is to be able to be self-sufficient, to be able to, the countries to be able to own and finance their own development. Also, multinational enterprises, as I mentioned before, are engaged in highly complex tax arrangements because they have the best lawyers, the best, tax experts working for them full time to ensure that they pay least taxes in the countries that they operate in. And this kind of results in shifting of huge profits from where they are earned to where the parent company is. And hence the dire need for skilled tax auditors globally who can challenge these profit shifting schemes that organizations with more experience indulge in. And hence tax administrations need help across the world because they don't have the capacity, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the experience, they don't have the expertise. And that's where we come in. Why the partnership? Because OECD, as we all know, has technical competence in trade tax. Also, their overall alignment is to base erosion and profit shifting actions. The G20 and the OECD kind of have that as a focus, and they have access to all the players in substantive stuff. UN, on the other hand, brings with it sheer size and scale. It's one of the only organizations in the world that has presence across over 170 to 180 countries on the ground. Also, UN has a key focus based on the Addis Ababa Action Agenda to support implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And a couple of things that resonate with the key goals of the UN post 2050 is one, of course, and more so UNDP, one, of course, governance, effective governance. Second, sustainable development and its funding and financing. And third, being South-South cooperation. And we and Tax Inspectors Without Borders kind of brings all of these things together. And we also have the program and policy expertise in public financial management. So it's kind of a perfect union and synergy between substantive scale, expertise, management, and like core values of each of the initiatives. And that's how Tax Inspectors Without Borders came into being about 2 years ago. The division of labor, I'll briefly cover this because I think I covered it a bit before. The OECD, as I said, identifies technical taxation issues if required and provides the tools and the research required, the best practices. We are also working with them on monitoring, assessment, and reports result. UNDP, on the other hand, because it has presence in country offices, will support all kinds of development and completion of the programs. Also, we are trying to assimilate now the learnings of whatever programs we have had and try and see how we can share the best practices with the international development community as a whole. We also manage a roster of experts. As of this month, we have about 40 tax audit experts who are on a roster who could be deployed to countries across the world on missions. Generally up to 2 weeks at one time, and over a period of 1 year, it's about 4 such missions, so about 8 weeks. And sometimes the projects are longer, but that's case-to-case basis. We also manage donor financial resources. We also handle, the management side of Tax Inspectors Without Borders. So that's where kind of the marriage between UNDP and OECD comes into play. Governance, if you see, it has the buy-in at the highest level. Angel Gurria, who heads OECD, and Achim Steiner, who, of course, is the administrator at UNDP now. Both are co-chairs of this initiative. In addition to that, we have very renowned tax experts or tax experts across the world who are known for their work. On our governing board, we also have women, we also have representation from the South. So it's kind of a complete holistic perspective that these incredible people bring to the table. In addition to the governing board, which kind of decides the overarching direction, we also have the technical advisory group, which comprises of officials from both developed and developing countries. We also have members of the business, industry advisory committees, and a large part of our cooperation also comes from the regional tax organizations, such as the African Tax Administration, for instance, or the regional tax administrations. So that kind of brings us more perspectives and direction. TIWB in practice, it's a niche form of assistance. It's not something that is designed to substitute any work that the government is doing or any work that the tax administrations in the developing countries are doing. It is basically auditing these multinationals. It is a balanced approach. Real-time current cases are taken, and help is given to the respective countries that seek it, and it's a learning by doing approach. So what the easiest thing to do is to give somebody fish. The hard thing to do is to teach them how to fish, and hence building their capacity such that they are enabled, such that they are empowered for the future. Today you are around, tomorrow you could perhaps not be around and pull out, or whatever reasons. They should be able to sustain. Like that's the whole concept of sustainable development. And the broader benefits, though in the short run, the companies may have to pay a little bit more taxes in the respective countries that they're operating in. However, in the long run, the broader benefits are that it's an enhanced investment climate because of certainty. When there is efficiency in government systems, transparency, lower corruption, lower red tapeism, lower bureaucracy, it kind of definitely enhances the investment climate in the long run. It also strengthens kind of the culture of compliance because there is more effective enforcement of laws. So that's kind of the long-term behavioral and ecosystem. Of course, in the short run, the benefit is that we see increased tax collections for countries, which then can fund their own development. It's needed the most. It could be access to healthcare, education, infrastructure, whatever is the national priority then. So that's what TIWB kind of brings to the table. And increased tax collection, I mentioned before, we have 29 programs so far. We have had 29 programs so far. 3 have completed, 26 are underway across 24 countries. We plan to have 100 deployments by 2020, so about 75 more in the next 2.5 years. So far, we have had 281 million increased tax collections. This is like more immediate. Most of the assessments are still underway, and hence kind of we've yet to quantify that. But in addition to, as I said, it's not just quantification or quantitative data, which is the increased tax collection, but it's more about so many other softer aspects and so many other behavioral and ecosystem related aspects that are also a part of the measurement and impact that this initiative is creating on the ground. As you can see, Africa is the primary recipient of this incredible initiative because of the huge potential there. But we want to try and see, because we see huge potential in the Latin America and the Caribbean region, it'll be incredibly interesting to try and see how we can work in that region and help out country governments and help out administrations to make a difference. Countries hosting TIWB programs, as I said, 26 current programs, 7 upcoming. The pink ones are the ones that are current, 7 are upcoming. Like you can see, there's something coming up in Peru. In the current programs, there is one in Jamaica, Costa Rica. So it's about how we can scale the footprint, to drive value across the world. Like I said, we partner a lot with regional and international organizations, like the African Tax Administration Forum. We work with USAID, with Open Society Foundation, like multiple ways. Actually, let me kind of give you a brief of what are the ways in which the TIWB programs can be run. One is that the developed countries, such as the UK or France or Germany, any developed country, could contribute in terms of human capital. So they send their tax experts, people who are working in their administration, say in the German tax administration or the UK tax administration. So they send these people to countries that they want to help out. So it's in kind. That's one way. While they are still working in the developed countries administration. So that's one, where the developed country sends their experts to the developing countries. Second is that UNDP has a roster of experts, and which I mentioned, it's 40 as of now, and how depending on what, and we have skill sets across languages. So we have a few Spanish speakers, Arabic. Of course, we have people who speak English and French. So like we have like a mix, and of course across regions, across sectors. So somebody is a mining expert, for instance. Somebody is an oil and gas expert. So, you know, we have kind of across sectors, across skill sets, and those are deployed on the ground depending on the need. And the third is that we have donors who fund experts. So like in Liberia, we had Open Society Foundation work with us in Liberia to make a difference. Like I said, France sent people to Senegal, Cameroon, Congo. Germany sent someone to Jamaica. Italy to Albania, Kenya to Botswana. This was one of our first South-South cooperation projects, which we plan to scale up in the coming months and the following year, because that's something that is of great value to both the countries involved in terms of South-South cooperation. So Netherlands sent somebody to Ghana, Rwanda. Spain sent somebody to Costa Rica. UK to Ethiopia, Lesotho. Like I said, either the tax administrations from the developed countries, these are serving officials who go to the developing countries, like France would send somebody to Senegal. The second is the UNDP roster of experts, and the third is the consultants are contacted directly by the donors, like the Open Society Foundation in Liberia, who worked with us. The roster of experts was established earlier this year, April 2017, relatively new. So the supply side is kind of ready, up and running. Now it's about, making people aware that this exists and that they could actually avail these set of services. And there is South-South cooperation is something that we really want to pursue. TIWB events, we have events coming up on the 2nd and 3rd of November. We have an experts roundtable discussion on the 2nd, where we are bringing audit tax experts from across the world to share knowledge about their experiences, any challenge they faced in delivering programs on the ground so far of the 29 programs that we've had. Shareholders workshops on the 3rd of November, where we want to bring multiple stakeholders, not just experts who have worked on the ground, but also donors, host administrations, partner administrations. So basically, host administrations are administrations in the developing countries. So a country in Africa, the Liberian Revenue Authority will be a host administration because they are hosting the expert to help them out. And partner administration will be, like I said, like a UK or a France who is partnering with us to provide experts. So yeah, so we are bringing all of the stakeholders, the tax audit experts themselves who work on the ground, donors, hosts, partner administrations. We kind of then will take a stock of all the practical lessons learned over the last 2 years, and then also try and see the future course of action and how all of this can actually be fed into the 2018 program and beyond. If we get a chance later, we look at the video of the project that we did in Liberia. Now, one of the most important things, how do we engage? As I said before, it's minimal cost, negligible cost to the country offices. This program has great potential because of its impact on domestic resource mobilization. The country offices have great local DRM networks. It has great potential to be able to make a difference on the ground. It's super easy to set up a country program. The only ask perhaps maybe in terms of the time of the people in the country office or people who are already engaging in UN work on the ground in the country. But apart from that, there is no real ask. Participation, there could be multiple ways. The call to action could be because we as the UN are involved in so many support services to so many country governments, how we can actually engage with the tax administrations about their needs, try and understand of their issues, also engage with experts on debriefing sessions during the mission, help the experts understand the overall political, social, or geopolitical dynamics, so to say, and then also understand from the experts what's happening on the tax front. So it's like so that everybody is on the same page. Then other complementary UNDP support that UNDP does for ministries of finance or is working with administrations already, and how we can kind of have that conversation or include that conversation in our understanding of their problems and need assessment, and then kind of actually helping solve it. That is the structure. Of course, happy to have individual conversations if anybody were to be interested. I also shared the Tax Inspectors Without Borders annual report. And because I understand everybody is crunched for time, I also circulated a one-page brief on Tax Inspectors Without Borders. Third is this presentation will be made available to you. And fourth is the link of the video. So that's the material. Whenever you get a chance, do take a look at all of it. And I would be happy to have conversations if should you want to know more. And also, it will be great if you want to ask me some questions right now. Happy to answer those. And and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present Tax Without Borders. And I think it's going to be incredibly important as an initiative across the world that will change the dynamics for how multinationals behave, how there is compliance, how there is enforcement, how there is change in investment climate, how taxation issues are dealt with, and how sustainable development goals are funded or financed. So it has the potential to be a real game changer, and look forward to working with all of you to be able to get there. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Radha. Please stay with us for a few more moments because probably it will be a good opportunity to answer some of the questions people have. And then also, I think, I don't know if you still have time, maybe you can join the conversation in the rest of the session. This is a good opportunity to ask Radha questions about Tax Inspectors Without Borders, or if you have also questions to us, to Eduardo, or to me, or anyone who is going to be part of this course, please feel free to ask questions, to participate, to comment on what you have seen, what are your expectations so far of this course, etc.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Eduardo, I don't know if you want to say something.
I said happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Rada. So I'm trying to see in the chat, we have a question already. In the Spanish, the session that we had in Spanish, somebody was asking about if the tax inspectors without borders could support subnational governments, subnational authorities. And maybe this is a question that also we have here. So, Robert, what can you say about that?
So as I said in the morning session as well, so far we have worked with national governments, since most of the decisions for auditing multinational companies, for instance, gets taken at the federal level, and it's more like a national, I wouldn't say issue, but like national domain, and hence we have dealt with that before. But if there were to be something specific in the state level and not federal level, I can definitely check that and revert in terms of how we want to pan that out. But so far it's been the National Revenue Authority that we have dealt with, and the national governments. But I can get back to you.
All right, thank you very much. And something that maybe people would like to know about is, you already mentioned that, but then what is the procedure? Could you repeat, please, the procedure for a country to have the support of tax inspectors without borders, and how much would that cost to the government or to the country office, UNDP's country office?
So, like I said, the cost is negligible. In terms of the resources, it's more about the manpower and it's more about that engagement, because the ways in which these projects are funded is those three ways, where either the developed country sends its experts, or UNDP funds it by its roster of experts from the headquarters, or there is a donor partner that we have who funds those experts. So, and then most of the time the host administration takes care of, sometimes if it's Africa, then the transportation, like just getting them safely to their premises and stuff like that. So that's more logistical. Having said that, in terms of the UNDP country office, the ask perhaps could be only mostly the engagement, like the human engagement, to kind of have a brief in terms of, what is the geopolitical dynamics, what is the situation, what is like the bird's eye view, what is the broader picture, also try and understand what's happening on the ground, also try and engage with the country governments on it, because I think UNDP continuously engages with country governments at different levels and on different issues. So, having this at the back of your mind, kind of saying where there is synergy, saying where we can, partner, where we can actually help them, where we can make a difference, is kind of where the engagement would come in more. Also, sorry, what was your other question? One was the resources, and was there one more question that I missed?
Yes. What is the procedure for a country to ask for the support of tax inspectors?
Yes. So the procedure is super simple. The country, the host administration, like whichever country tax administration wants help, they just go on a website, fill out a very simple form, which is like a intent form, it's called like the letter of intent, or raising a request, basically letter of request. You just fill that out, super simple form, and once we receive that, we kind of engage with then that host administration, where we try and understand their needs better and have like a more detailed conversation. There is a program detailed questionnaire that then goes out to them, which they fill out. So the first thing that they have to do is a very simple intent form, which is on the website tiwb.org, And once they do that, then we start engaging with them in terms of what they really want and, how is it that we can help them? What is it that we can do? Then we define a terms of reference between the parties involved. So if we have also a donor country or like a donor partner administration, then it's a tri-party, otherwise it's like bilateral. So you kind of do that terms of reference. Based on that, you then match the expert to what the country needs. And once you match the expert actually goes on the ground, does these missions over a period of sometimes 1 year, sometimes perhaps more, 2-week missions at one time over probably 3 or 4 times a year, so about 8 weeks a year. And then you try and handhold them, capacity build them, and work with them on real life audit cases, so that it's not like the experts work by themselves and just give them a product at the end or like just a presentation at the end. No, they sit together and do it so that you're actually hand-holding them, and next time they should be able to do it by themselves. So that is kind of the broad procedure. And then of course you try and assess the impact, you try and see how much tax revenue they have raised, what's the kind of behavioral change in the economy or the ecosystem, but that's more long term. But yeah, broadly this is the process, and if anybody were to be interested, the easiest thing to do is to go on the website and fill that letter of intent.
Excellent, thank you very much. I don't know if anyone has another question for Radha. People typing. If you want, you can also take the microphone and ask your question on viva voce. In the meantime, I don't know if Eduardo, would you like to say something about the course, Tax Inspectors Without Borders?
Hi, hello everyone. Thanks, Ivan. Thanks, Radha. No. I just want to add that. But I mean, this is very interesting. This definitely will complement the tool that we are developing, and that we all together we will be studying, reviewing during the next weeks. And no, this is excellent for me. I'm happy to participate in this course. And Alberto, by the way, had to go to the university. He's teaching, but so he apologizes. But that's it for the moment.
Great, thank you very much, Eduardo. And Sophie Zaragoza was asking what is exactly the website to fill the request, and Radha just put it in the chat. You can see it there. And Cleyen Rojas is asking, from your experience with this work, you say that working with the country is more of an interactive conversation. This is a question for Radha.
From what perspective? If you can kindly elaborate, client. Like, would you mean working in the country is more of an interactive conversation with the host tax administration, or do you mean with the UNDP country office, or?
She's typing now, but probably she means the interaction with the local government, with the National Fiscal Authority, who is receiving the support of Tax Inspectors Without Borders. And because, as you said, this is a learning by doing process.
Exactly.
So, as I think the idea is to train the local authorities.
Exactly. So again, that depends on the terms of reference too. Sometimes the country government comes up with a very specific request saying that we need help in this specific area, and then you kind of engage with them on that. But if you were to kind of generalize as a general discourse in terms of a conversation, definitely that's obviously always in the scheme of things. But yes, it is learning by doing, it is interactive, it is capacity building, it is a niche form of assistance, and we try and bring that experience and expertise on the table such that they will be able to kind of understand what is going on and not just do it blindly. So yes, it's interaction.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Rada. I don't know if anyone else has a question to me, to Eduardo, Rada. And if not, maybe this would be the time to start closing the session. And then thank you very much to everyone who joined us today. Please share your thoughts, your questions in the forums that we have for the course, and I'm sure we will continue this conversation. And as Rada said, she's willing to answer your questions. If you can email to her, and I don't know, Eduardo, if you want to say anything else, and if not, then we will speak again next week.
Great. So thank you so much, Ivan and team and everybody else, Eduardo and everybody else, for giving us the opportunity to interact with all of you. It's been a delight, and I'm extremely pleased to be able to engage with you. And I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you, or at least some of you, in the future. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I could be reached on radha.kulkarni. My details are on the presentation, which I am sure Ivan would circulate, along with the annual report and the one-page brief, plus the video. Do look at the video. It will kind of give you an understanding of what are the dynamics of a project and how the country kind of benefits, and how we can take this initiative across the world to really add value and change the dynamics for the better and without borders. Like just because a country isn't developed enough, or just because a country doesn't have expertise currently, it shouldn't limit itself to not having access to that. So it's about trying to make the world a level playing field in whatever little way possible, being able to bring that expertise without borders to everybody who may need it. So thank you so much, and look forward to interacting with you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much, Rada, and thank you very much to everyone else who joined us today. I'm looking forward to speak again next week. Have a nice week.
Thank you so much. Have a nice week.